Hey folks, it's Brian. We got a chance to play in my Chronicles of Carreen campaign last night. We ended up spending most of our time working through a number of season phases. We finished up the dark season. There was just a couple things left to do. I think the research was the big thing. And then we went through storm season, and we went through sacred time. And we went through sea season and fire season. So there were 1, 2, 3, technically 4 season phases that we went through that had the generic 4 culture occupation skill experience checks. And we have an Orlanthe in the party, so he's able to make 2 power gain roll checks. And then, of course, everybody else got to do a power gain roll during sacred time. All in all, there were everybody pretty much rolled the d6s for their skill increases and their research increases, and seemed to do pretty well. I had one player who's got a strength of 9, and he wants to get that up to, I think it's 13, so he can use a composite bow instead of the self bow. So he spent all 4 seasons, 2 strength increase checks he got to do. One during sea season, the other during storm season, and again during fire season. But he missed both of those increases. Or no, he made the second increase roll, but he rolled 0 points for increase. That can be frustrating. But they also looked into, what do I need to do to make Rune Lord, and so I need to increase those skills. So there's some focus on doing that. There's other folks who are focusing on, I want to get better at my primary weapon, even though it is pretty high. There was some discussion early on about the Shadow Cats. Having the Shadow Cats do experience checks. And at least for this first campaign, I wanted to keep things fairly innocuous. I think we're fairly banal, I guess, maybe. So we didn't do any increased checks for the cats. Now, technically, could or should the cats make increased rolls, experience increased rolls? I'm thinking for the actual adventures, yeah, but I don't know. Well, maybe for occupation too. I mean, because they're hunters. They're doing the hunting. They're trying to be stealthy, and they're attacking, that kind of thing. So maybe. But those 2 freaking cats. That's 2 extra players in the party. We've got a 5-man party, and I try to. Well, I modify or adjust. I adjust the design of my campaign based upon the size of the party. And it's kind of a military background kind of deal. When you run into creatures, specifically humans, but other creatures as well, you've got a single sentry, you've got a pair of guards, you've got a squad, which is a D6 of folks out, reconning. And that's kind of what the players on. If the player's like a D6 worth of people, then the opposed to be like a D6 worth of people. But then you've got, a squad, which is like 2 or 3 D6. And you got a company, which is close to 100 different guys. So that's just, something entirely different. But that's the kind of thing I do. So if the party is only just 2 people, then a squad would just be a D4 worth of people kind of deal. But they've got, technically those cats, they've got 5 people. If they get, I would let 5 and 6 go, but if they hit 7 folks with augments, then standard squad, standard patrol is going to be 2d6 worth of creatures. So something that I try to be aware of, and in the way I run, part of my world. Sorry, my shoulder's killed me again. And so that was some of the things that they were working on during these down seasons. We did have one player make a power gain roll. He picked up 2 points of power. He sacrificed 1 for rune points. So his power went up by 1, and he got an extra rune point. I forgot what spell he got. Oh, he was looking at the transform self. But the transform self, he's an Odala worshiper. And the transform self is only good if it's cast with his 3 other bear spells. Bear skin, bear strength, the other one, and claws is the third. If he casts all 3 of those with his transform self, he actually transforms into a bear, like Bjorn from the Fellowship. Or similar to this, not exactly the same, but similar idea. So I forgot what rune spell he actually picked up for that. And we discussed the fact that you can have all the rune spells that are listed for your cult and still do sacrifice power points for rune points. You just get more rune points, more options to fuel your spells. So that's how that piece works. We it was about 11:30 once we got done with all of that. And I kind of suggested, hey, do we want to stop here or do we want to continue on? And they wanted to continue on. So I had to, I had some of this prepped out. So during sacred time, this girl shows up. I forgot her name. I think I wrote her name down even. This girl shows up carrying Colin's child. She's pregnant. So they go ahead and they get married. They're doing she's a year wife, I guess is how it's termed, in the campaign. So they're going to be married for a year. It's like a renewable contract kind of thing. We'll see how things work out kind of deal. But she's going to move in with his family. So she's now part of the clan. Clan is the correct term. That's not what I meant. The family, extended family. The holding and the Thane. Sorry, the Thane's sphere of influence. So she's part of that group. So that's how the party knows about what's going on. Because on God Day of Disorder Week of Earth Season, a runner shows up at the Thane's holding. He's a younger kid, obviously an initiative, at least 16, but he's not, full 21 adult kind of thing. But he shows up, having ridden hard for 4 days, with news for Colin and his wife. There was some kind of cataclysm at Smithstone. Losing names. At Smithstone, where some members of her family were hurt. There was some kind of earthquake or something. The south side of the city, parts of the buildings collapsed. And then outside of the city, in the old ruins, buildings were thrust up out of the earth. They tried to quiz the kid. Well, they all gather up because they're discussing things. Because Colin calls everybody, hey, remember that book about Smithstone? Hey, something happened there. They all get together and they discuss what's going on there. And they try to ask the boy, hey, what do you know about the Earth Temple and what buildings came up and that kind of thing. He doesn't know. He was just told to come and let Colin and his wife know that some family members were hurt. So they believe that the Earth Temple is involved. May have said something about that. I don't recall offhand. But they decide that they're going to go to the Earth Temple at Clearwine, seek guidance and permission from the High Priestess there on what they can or should do. So they go speak with her, or some general, what's it called, administrative kind of interference going on. Oh, and if you want to see the live play, it's in the description. And I only recorded the actual scenario play. I didn't record the whole season phases stuff. So they get put, in a holding area, and eventually they get to go see the High Priestess, and they let her know what they think's going on, and they mention the book, so she wants to see the book. So Lars and Hearth go and get the book. Party's set back out in the holding area so she can take care of her regular business. When they show back up, they get shuffled back in. They show her the book, some of the things that they had seen and read, and about the whole. They didn't go into deep discussion of what's going on. They just knew that this book mentions the flood that took out Smithstone, and it was important to somebody who's doing something. So they think that the old Earth Temple there may be in danger, something like that. And so she, they have a little discussion on, definitely go. Well, I made some rolls, and was it Ferran with some augmentation tried to make an orate roll, but he missed that. But on my difficulty factor and actual rolls, she's very interested in what's going on here. So she writes out a little note about, hey, to the Lightbringer Temple in Smithstone. They help these guys out. They're going to investigate the Earth Temple in the old ruins. It's okay. Allow them to do so. Provide them any assistance, that kind of stuff, right? And so she hands it to them and asks for them to relay messages back about things they find. And if they find any relics, that kind of thing, to gather them up to bring them to this temple. So as they're leaving, one of them mentions something about, should we ask for one of their priestesses to come with them? And so they ask the minor priestess who's actually leading them out, could you or someone come with us? And I make another roll, and it was favorable, so she went to ask the high priestess, and the high priestess actually sends out an actual priestess. These minor priestesses up front are just priestesses in training. They're not rune level people. She sends out a rune level, brand new rune person, but a rune level person out, and the players don't really know that. Well, they do now. But she's there for guidance and support as necessary. Okay, so they travel. It's going to take 4 days to get to from Clearwine to Smithstone along the road. Most of the travel is along royal roads, but there's a couple of trade roads getting down to Quackford, I think it is, and then from Whitewall down to Smithstone are trade roads. So I start rolling just random encounters to see do there anything. In the middle of the day, on the middle of the first day, I roll an encounter. Oh, great. I didn't have any road encounters planned yet. I didn't have anything written out for that. So I went ahead and rolled, and it turned out to be a Minotaur. It turned out to be a Manticore. There we go. It turned out to be a Manticore. So I just pulled the Runequest Bestiary open Manticore. We just ran a straight, blase Manticore right out of the book. But the Manticore, they see it fly. A couple of them make scan rolls, see something coming through to them from the sky. They kind of orient themselves. Lars does Farsi 4 on himself, so he can get a pretty good look at this thing because Hearth was the one. Well, Hearth also saw it. Hearth and Lars were the two that had spied it with the scan rolls. And then Hearth made, I let him make an animal lore roll. So we tell this was not a natural animal. And gave a rough description of it, lion-like body, large wings, huge tail, that kind of thing, right? The Lars gets a good look at it. This thing has a human face, a lion's mane, a lion's body. It's got scorpion tail, that kind of thing, right? Now, the party doesn't necessarily know what a manticore is. I did allow some homeland lore rolls to see if they may have known. I think they're fairly rare enough that it would take a special roll to say, oh yeah, I've heard about manticores. They're usually out, in the plains or in the mountains or whatever, right? But nobody made that. Well, anyway, the manticore lands, and I had this thing in my head about he's going to land, he's going to leave one of your horses and you can pass in peace, kind of thing, right? He just, he's hungry. So he lands and he roars. I'm looking up, all he has is beast speech. And nobody here has beast speech. Maybe the hunter should. I'll have to look into that. Well, anyway, so he roars out something, and they try to communicate back. One of the players uses Beast Rune to augment trade talk. So I allowed that. I thought it was very clever. But he was not successful in that endeavor. So they asked the priestess if maybe it was some kind of earth speech or something like that. Anyway, it wasn't, obviously. But they asked her to, try something. So I'm sure, why not? Make a roll. She rolls a 0-6. So she gets some kind of conveyance across, and about what do you want, kind of thing, right? And the beast doesn't understand, so he roars back, "Give me your animals and leave!" That kind of thing. Excuse me. And they don't understand, but they say, "Let's offer something to trade." Throw him an apple. But the priestess tries again this thing of, can we trade, that kind of deal. And she rolls an +1. So the manticore, kind of understands, but that's not what he wants. He doesn't want to trade. He wants one of the horses, preferably all of them, but he wants one for sure. And so he shakes his head no and roars at him again. They try to make some insight rolls, and I kind of, because it's got a human face, I allow, it would take like a special or critical success to actually understand what this beast wants, kind of thing, from its inflections, and nobody makes that roll. So at this point, they had cast a slow on the beast before, so we've got an extra round, so they got some prepped up. They've got some speed dart arrows, they got some protection going, that kind of thing, right? Okay. Melee rounds, statements of intent. They don't know it's a manticore yet. The beast is getting ready to take flight. Lars figures he's going to try and get to the horses, so he wants to kind of follow underneath and plant his spear, so if it comes down, he can do a planted spear attack on it as it comes down for one of the horses, which is he figures going to do. And the two archers train their arrows on it, and if it does take flight, they're going to shoot it. So it takes flight. He gets halfway over, and the two archers fire. Lars is on the far side with his spear up. And Hearth rolls a critical success with his speed dart arrow. And the manticore, because he was at 106%, the manticore's 20% dodge goes down to 14, and he missed that. So critical success against failed dodge is max special damage, no armor protection. Ooh, I forgot that no protection. Oops. Not that it really changed anything. And he rolls for a location, turns to be his 4 quarters. So he shot this thing in the chest, did 18 points of damage. The Manticore's got 4 points of fur, and I actually did take the 4 points off I should have. But he's only got 7 hit points in his chest. So 2 times 7 is 14, so that's twice or more in the chest, which is unconsciousness. You're bleeding out in 5 rounds, or 5 minutes. So it classes right as it's over the party. So I have everybody make dodge rolls. The 2 PCs made it, but the NPC lady, the Earth Priestess, did not make her dodge roll. So I rolled a random location and just damage bonus for damage kind of thing. And hit her in the head. But she only got hit for 3 points of damage. It does 2d6 damage bonus. 3 points. I rolled a 1 and a 2. So she got whacked in the head. But that's not enough to put her out or anything. But it hurt her pretty bad. It hurt. She's got more than 3 hit points in her head though. Probably not many more. Holy cow! I should have checked on that. That would have been interesting. She's unconscious. But then they investigate the animal. The 2 hunters, everybody tries to make a homeland roll at this point to determine who knows what this thing is, and none of them made it. Then they the two hunters use Peaceful Cut to skin the animal. They're trying to, what can we take from it? They take a claw from the paw. They take a claw from one of the wings. And Lars, while they're doing that, Lars is meditating, and then he casts Solace of the Logical Mind, which allows him to get bonus stuff for knowledge skill things. And he's going to roll against his alchemy skill, determine specifically, he's looking for, is this tail poisonous and can we collect that kind of thing, right? What do I know about this creature? Well, because of his logical mind, his mind was open. He realizes this is a manticore, and yeah, it's a poisonous stinger tail, and if you cut through here underneath the tail, you can pull out the poison sac. So they've got two claws and a poison sac from a manticore and the skin. They then drag the carcass off the side of the road, and they continue on the way. They get to Wilmskirk. Hearth, the hunter, who's got the skin rolled up, looks for some kind of town council leader kind of position. And of course, there's one there. He goes, tells them, "Hey, we killed this manticore on the way into town. Is there like a bounty or anything on these things?" And no idea. So I roll, and sure enough, there is. And trying to figure out what kind of a bounty kind of threw me off. So I use its treasure factors from RQ2. And while the RQ2 to RQG conversion talks about, I think it's a factor of 10 drops. So, 10 silver pieces in Runequest 2 is only 1 silver piece, and RQG, I need to double check on that. That's what I recall it being. But for a treasure factor 17 creature, it does have gold wheels in there. I just kind of ignored that. But there's an 85% of having a percentile worth of silver, right? So detailing silver for that doesn't make any sense. So I went ahead and rolled percentile. I rolled 39, so I just rounded to 40. So there was a 40 lunar bounty for these dangerous creatures, because the manticore is out there and is doing dangerous things, right? So they get 40 lunars, and he distributes among the party. Each get 10 lunars each. Says the Pata, no problem. They're telling their story at the bar and things between Wilmskirk and Whitewall. They're doing this thing, so they get an extra 2 points of reputation from that. It's probably too much. Probably should have done 1. And there were no more encounters for the rest of the road to Smithstone. So they get to Smithstone. They meet with the Lightbringer Temple there. Explain what they're doing there. Show them the paper. The priestess is there. They discuss things. They ask questions, and this is where they find out that after this earthquake cataclysm thing occurred, after they got done taking care of the wounded and the collapsed building stuff in town, they went outside town to see what had happened in the old ruins. And that's why the Earth Temple was up, but it was being guarded by 40 brew. So they just kind of stood back, made a defensive wall, kind of to keep a track of what's going on with this brew, and then sent for help up to Whitewall. Well, after a few minutes, the brew scatter, take off in all directions. So they have little search parties out. They managed to kill a few brew, but certainly not all of them. Excuse me, holy cow. So they find out about that. So they figure the brew must have desecrated this place or something. So they go and they check it out. They get there, they go inside, and it's cantered at an angle. It's not fully straight up. It pops up at an angle kind of thing. They go in. There's mud and stuff all over the place. The entrance is about at ground level. You have to step up, but it's at an angle inside. So there's some slipping and sliding going around. I should have flavored that up a bit, but I didn't. And then they make some search rolls. They find some footprints, fairly small footprints that go through one of the side passages down to a room that is a small library. And that it goes to a corner of the library and is moving back and forth around a certain area. So these cubbies in the back wall with scrolls in them, and all the scrolls are soaking wet, covered with mud. Mud's up on all the walls. And it wasn't until later somebody triggered something. There would be open scrolls on the floor. I'd forgotten about that part. Because they're not sure, okay, so where were they searching for scrolls from, kind of thing. And there were scrolls on the floor. There's more comments and discussion about these footprints, what kind of footprints do Brew have, that kind of thing. And I had somebody make some kind of I think it was a scan roll or something, and those look like the footprints, the size of the priestess. So I said, "Hey, priestess, come here. You step down next to that footprint." She put her foot down. Okay, yeah, it's about her size. It wasn't a child. It was some strange creature. It was, probably a female, somebody who's size 9, that kind of thing, right? Not size 13, 16. These guys are big. Some of these guys are big. So that all got figured out. And it was pushing 12:30 at that point, so that's where we stopped. So they're in the library, and they've got some open scrolls on the floor and more scrolls in the wall. So that gives me, thankfully, a break so I can figure out, okay, what exactly is in those scrolls. As well, I had the scenarios sketched out, and I'm working through the adventure part of it. This whole tie-in piece is still kind of nebulous, so I've got to do some research and writing for that. That'll be fun. But anyway, we're pushing 26 minutes here, so happy gaming.